sure that many of you are like me in that you didn't have a choice of coming to college. For me, the day I was born, my parents started saving money for my education, and they always said, you will go to college, not do you want to go to college. But there are several problems with this. First of all, I have a brother that's a year older than I am, and a brother that's a year younger than I am. We're all three in college at the same time. So feasibly, it's almost impossible that I'm at Vanderbilt. But I got a very nice financial aid package. Actually, though, the financial aid system is inadequate, and the United States needs to review this so that it will represent the students of the United States. Presently, educational opportunities are being denied because of basic institutional flaws. Several solutions could fix these flaws. First of all, educational opportunities are being denied. Students are being punished for the work that they do, and they are also being put into debt. Over 1 million students in the United States are on financial aid. This comes from the Chronicle of Higher Education. But the Chicago Tribune shows that 35% of student money, of their own earnings, have to go into their education, which really isn't a big deal. Basically, 100% of my earnings go into education. But the problem comes in the codes. About 38% of Vanderbilt students are on financial aid, which means probably about 6 or 7 other people in this room besides me. Your roommates, your boyfriends, maybe even yourself. Well, this is where the codes come into problem. Okay, this is just an example of what happened to me this year. I got an award of $3,000 from the state of Tennessee. I worked in a factory the summer before, making about $2,500. And I got this in June. In August, I got this saying that I had $45 of taxable money left from my work study, which put me $23 over the code. And so I got none of this money, and I got this 2 weeks before school started. And basically, $23. That means if I'd stayed home one night and partied or slept or done anything besides go to work that night, I would have that $3,000. Basically, had I not even worked that summer, I would have come out $5,000 ahead. This is not right. The government also allows students to accumulate debt. Personally, I will be about $20,000 in debt by the time I'm done with college. Many students will accumulate debt even higher than this, and they do not even realize that 6 months after they are done with college, they have got to start paying back these loans. And often it takes 20 or 25 years, and they end up paying maybe 4 times the amount that they borrowed. Now, the problem comes from institutional flaws. There are 3 methods from where money comes from state governments, federal governments, and from the school. The problem with the state governments is that there's a lot of fighting between private and public institutions, and so the money gets switched around a lot, and a lot of times a school will have money one year that it won't have the next, which really leaves the student caught in the middle. The federal government actually gives an excess of $50 billion in aid every year, but this is still not enough because a lot of the aid goes to upper or middle class students that could feasibly pay for their college education on their own. Vanderbilt, according to David Moyer, who is the director of financial aid, says that they give over $15 million to students every year. If all these numbers could be combined and a code could be set up that uses all 3 of these to equally distribute the money in a way that was for the less fortunate individuals, lower socioeconomic levels, then the system could be greatly improved. The second problem is in the rising cost of education. Last year, education rose about 5.5% on a national level, but financial aid rose about 4%. This means that financial aid is about 1% lower relatively than it was last year. There are several ways that we could solve this. First of all, the government needs to institute programs. If any of you watched the State of the Union address or Clinton's inaugural address, you are aware of the emphasis that he is putting on education. He's planning on increasing grants. A grant is a sum of money that a student doesn't have to pay back by about 25%. This means that currently 200,000 students that don't have grants could feasibly get them, and 900,000 students who have grants could get more. This would greatly decrease their debt burden when they got out of school. He's also advocating a 2% interest rate instead of a 4% interest rate on loans through direct lending. Direct lending is where the government gives money directly to the schools, and it bypasses the money that's needed from middlemen such as lenders or banks. that often increases the interest rates. There, of course, are some significant disadvantages to this program. Number one is cost. This will cost about $30 billion over 5 years, and that is very significant. But if we take a look at the economy today and the state of our debt load that the government has accrued, I think that the only way that we can feasibly get rid of that is to increase job opportunities, and that we do that through education and by educating the lower class. And this $30 billion would definitely pay for itself over time, and it would be a good investment. Second problem is in direct lending, because many institutions do not want to trust the government to give them money because political parties differ very much on this. And so that if a Republican gets into the White House, they might lose their funding. I think that this could be combated by setting a review date and ensuring that the institutions definitely have that money until that date. There are also several advantages. First of all, the money will go where it is needed. Right now, many parents hide their assets, they put it in a retirement account, or they separate bank accounts, and they get money that they do not actually need. They could feasibly send their children to school, which means that students from lower class families that need the money to go to school and to help support their family do not get the money. And this would definitely focus the money on those who need it the most. It would also educate the lower class, which would raise our economy. By issuing new codes, the cheating would stop. They would stop cheating. The parents would not be able to cheat. Total assets would be viewed because all three of the places where the money comes from, the state and the federal government and the school, would view the assets of the family. Educational opportunities are being denied because of basic institutional flaws. I've outlined several solutions. This is you. These are your friends. This is your boyfriend. They need to be focusing on their education when they're at school. They shouldn't be worried about maybe not coming back to Vanderbilt next year because they've worked 4 hours more than they should have. Their focus needs to be on the future. Thank you.
Questions from the audience?
You said that educate more to increase job opportunities, isn't it provide more competition, less jobs for more educated people in the long run? I think that it would raise the total standard of living, and that it wouldn't decrease anybody's standard of living because it would increase international competition, I think, and bring more money into the United States in total.
You keep talking about the lower class being educated. Do you have any evidence that shows that this kind of program increases education levels of the lower class? And what do you mean by the lower class?
By the lower class, I mean families that earn less than about $30,000 a year. And yes, this program, I have evidence, not with me, sorry, that says that that this program has helped educate, I don't have the exact number, a significant amount of lower class students by giving them the opportunity to go to school.
Okay, question over here on the right.
I don't know if you include this in your solvency plan, I may have missed it, but did you say anything about President Clinton's proposals about, I believe, the Hope Scholarships? Is that
About the scholarships that he plans to increase the total education to 2 years of college.
Is that part of your solvency plan?
Not really, because this is also part of that, but his solution, for those of you that don't know, he is proposing a $1,500 tax credit or a $10,000 tax break for students that want to pursue 2 years extra in college, because he wants to make education universal. I mean, 2 years of college education is universal as high school education. But what this does, in order to receive this, you have to itemize your tax list, and statistics show that only about 9% of families that earn less than $30,000 even itemize their tax list, whereas about 75% of people that earn over $30,000 a year do. So it would basically benefit the upper middle class and middle class families. And so I don't think that would help educate the lower class.
Okay, let's go to the next presentation. Cameron is our next speaker.
Your posters.